Welcome to Aging Matters, a program featuring people who talk about issues of interest to older adults and their families. I'm Cheryl Beversdorf, your host. Today, Aging Matters offers another Stories of Life program where we introduce guests who talk about how their life experiences made a difference to them and to their community. My guest is Keith Wilson, a self-taught saxophonist who specializes in playing blues and jazz music. He has been playing musical instruments for nearly 45 years. Earlier this year, Keith released a new single called Must Be Love, and based on the popularity of the CD, has become an internationally known recording artist. Keith has been performing in the Washington area for 30 years. And during our program today, he will talk about his life and give us a sample of his unique musical performance style. So welcome, Keith, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, as always, I like to know a little bit about the background of my guests. So tell us, where were you born and raised, and describe your early years.
Well, I was born in Norfolk, Virginia. I was raised in the projects of Liberty Park in Norfolk, Virginia. We were raised more of it's a family-oriented area. Most of the families in the area, we basically knew every family on our block. And as well as you travel throughout the area, you basically knew everyone around you.
And how old were you when you first began playing a musical instrument?
Around 12 years old, when I first started. Of course, at a younger age, I could basically pick up any instrument and kind of pluck out a tune. So I've always been kind of musically inclined.
And was this also in Norfolk?
Yes.
Was this?
Mm-hmm.
So this was
Norfolk.
and what was the age?
12.
12?
Mm-hmm.
So you were still in grade school?
Yes.
Okay.
6th grade, yeah.
And what was the first instrument that you played?
The first instrument that I played was a tuba.
A tuba?
Tuba.
How did that come about?
That came about at the time when, back in those days, you had to rent instruments because we couldn't purchase the instrument. We didn't have that kind of funding. So basically, I had to wait for the funding to come to my house. So once the funding came from my father, who was a merchant seaman, so once the funding came, all the instruments that I wanted to play, number one being a saxophone, number two being a trumpet, there was only the flute and the tuba left. And back in the 60s, in those days, I mean, little boys just wouldn't pick the flute. So I chose the tuba, which back then we had a big metal sousaphone that I had to carry home, just like all the rest of the kids.
So you were walking down the street with
a
that
big
tuba?
sousaphone
Okay.
around my neck.
And so did you play the tuba in high school and college, or how did that work?
Absolutely. From elementary school through college, I played the tuba. I went to Elizabeth City State University on a band scholarship, playing the tuba. And that's pretty much what I've done from elementary school through college.
Okay. And then I'm assuming that the tuba led to the saxophone. Describe that transition.
That transition happened when I moved in the Washington metropolitan area, and I decided that I was going to teach myself saxophone because I couldn't buy a tuba and then have that as a lead instrument. So I needed something a little smaller and more appealing. So I chose the saxophone, and I started with a few books, and I kind of went in the basement and began to learn how to play.
And was it difficult to transition? I'm just curious, from the tuba to the saxophone. Obviously, I know there's more keys on the saxophone than there are on the tuba.
But
so
there are,
how did that work?
I mean, music is music, and it basically, it doesn't matter what instruments you have, what you're using. In the tuba, you're in a bass clef, so you have to learn a different, as far as a different clef that you're dealing with. But the saxophone is in the treble clef, so you have to learn the actual treble clef scales and so forth. Each horn is a little bit different because it's not based in the concert key. concert key is what pianos play in and all like guitars and so forth. Those instruments are in concert key and violins and so forth. These horns are in two different keys. The alto is based in E flat, and the tenor and the soprano, they both are based in B flat. So in theory, I had to learn how to transpose music from treble clef, when it comes down to concert key, to treble clef, which horn that I'm dealing with, whether it's E flat or B flat.
And so when you decided to play the saxophone, obviously there were more than one kind of saxophone
Correct.
to play. And so I'm assuming then that you also had to start thinking about what kind of style of music, or your sound, I should say,
Right.
that you wanted to produce. Am I correct?
Yes. That sound that you're speaking on, I've always thought of myself as more of a lyricist on the horn versus just playing, as they call them, licks. As when you're looking at improvising over music, the improv, which is more of a traditional jazz, is a little bit more complicated, and it has a lot more dexterity as far as what you're doing on the horn. When it comes down to smooth jazz, the sound is more done like a lyricist, like you're hearing a voice versus hearing just patterns of rhythms that come out when you're doing straight ahead jazz or traditional jazz.
And as you developed your sound, were you influenced by any particular jazz musician? And if so, who?
Initially, and now I really I model a lot of my music behind Grover Washington. His style is more similar to my style, and that is I have adopted more of a smooth listening sound. You will listen to my music. I guarantee you, if you listen to my music, you'll close your eyes and just enjoy the music. It's not a whole bunch of runs, and it's beautiful patterns that I play that entices the mind.
Which we're going to be hearing a little bit later.
Absolutely.
As well. So that style of smooth jazz that you play, is that when you perform, then is that what you do? I mean, is that then the style that you feature and promote?
Correct.
For yourself?
Correct. My style is definitely what I promote. I try to any cover tunes that I cover, I will basically, let's say for instance I cover a Anita Baker tune, I'm going to try to play that tune like Anita Baker sang it. So my voicing will be very similar to what she sang. I feel that, artists that create music, when they create the music, they created that music to sound the way that they did it. So instead of adding a whole bunch to it, I try to interpret it similar to what was there.
Okay. Well, in the upcoming segment, Keith will talk more about the different variations of smooth jazz that he performs, and he'll also give us a sampling of the sounds of each. So let's listen.
Good evening. I'm Keith Cool K. Wilson. I'll be demonstrating my smooth jazz sound on tenor, alto, and soprano. We're going to start off with Under the Boardwalk, which is a cover tune, on tenor. Then we'll play soprano, and we'll do a original, which is Cruising, and then we'll do another original, which is Must Be Love. So we're going to start off with Under the Boardwalk. Like to do now a alto tune that actually made the Smooth Jazz Top 100 chart. It came out in June and it's ready to go, so you can get it on all the platforms. It's a little song I wrote called Must Be Love.
Those were beautiful sounds, Keith, and thank you
you.
for sharing your music and giving us such a beautiful rendition of the kind of music that you perform. So,
Thank you.
thank you. So, I wanted to ask you a few more questions about when you perform.
Okay.
Like, if you do a gig, how do you decide what musicians are needed for your performance?
Depending on the gig, I will basically run from a single, which is myself, to a 7-piece band. And basically, if I take the band in, I'll run the whole 7-piece band. That will include a bass player, a drummer, a percussionist, a vocalist, and a guitar player. And then I'll bring in a singer. And that depends on the client that I have. Most of my performances have been private events. I do some live functions that basically I will create the show, or I will actually put on the show. I've played at a few places such as Blues Alley and Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club. And those places, we basically run the full band.
And talk about your audiences. You're talking about your fellow band people are retired, but are your audiences primarily retired people or young people, or is it all over the map, or what?
Well, my primary demographics run from the age of, I would say, late 40s to 100. I have.
That's quite a range.
Yeah, I do. I do some senior homes in this area, and I do play to a young lady the other day. She was 104. So
Congratulations.
it ranges. If I have a concert, I would basically be targeting from 45 to maybe 70. That can get out.
And do they follow you in terms of, do they know your kind of music already and ask you to play certain pieces or certain numbers, or how does that work?
Some do. Any time that I have an engagement and it's a private engagement, I open up to the customer. Do they have a specific song that they like and that they want to hear? And basically, I will play that song.
But then at the same time, you develop your own kind of repertoire. So in case they don't ask you.
I have a repertoire of dinner music, which consists of it's more of, I guess, a straight ahead type jazz or contemporary jazz, but I never do contemporary jazz in a contemporary format. It's always a smooth jazz or R&B format. So the song kind of takes on a little different feeling than just, let's say if I were to do a straight ahead tune, it wouldn't swing as much as it would groove, I would say. So there's a difference.
And you definitely did a lot of swinging in that demo. That was really great. So, and to that point, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned in the demo about your recordings. So I'd like to hear more. Have you done quite a few recordings? Is the one that you just released the first? Or talk more about that.
I've done several releases. However, they were my early stage. And I have a recording studio that I built in my basement, which basically has enough room to be able to record the full band, full vocal, background vocals, whatever I need to do. So I record 90% of my stuff in my own studio. And with that, you sort of have to, build up with far as the music that you're playing and the overall setting of recording. So these songs that I've recorded in that studio were, I guess, the beginning of. Some of them are good now. Like we did Cruising, which actually is a vocal tune that I wrote years ago, and you can get that one out there on Spotify and all of the platforms, and that's a vocal tune, but I've just transformed it into an instrumental for today, as well as Must Be Love. Now that's one of my best, actually the best, when it comes to recording and mixing, mastering. All of that was done out of a studio out of Detroit. I have a producer out of Detroit, Michigan, that basically does my mixing, mastering, co-writes, and so forth.
And as I understand it, it is really shooting up on the charts and making you an internationally
Yes.
known artist. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
So, and it's still going? I mean,
Well, you know, it's funny with these charts because they start out, you have to have a marketing campaign, and I use a company out of Las Vegas that do my marketing. And it played throughout the United States and overseas. But what you have to have, and this is some of the things that I found out, sort of a learning experience with this, is that you have to not only depend on the marketing of the song to the radio stations, but you have to create yourself a live tour. And so I wasn't able to do that on this first song. The song sat on the chart for 10 weeks. Once the marketing campaign is over, it falls off the other side. So it lasted for 10 weeks inside the top 100, which was really good. But I didn't follow it up with the live performances. I did a video, a show, Zoom show, which was really good. And I actually pulled in 100 people to watch that show. But you have to sort of be ready to kind of put it out throughout the United States. So you got to kind of go from city to city. You have to set up a tour. So this one, I will be doing that.
and that sounds like some future plans. So
Yeah.
we want the viewers that are watching this show to tell us, how can they contact you? What
Well,
do
you
they need to
could-
know?
You can get hold of me with my website, koolkentertainment.com, and that's KOOLK entertainment.com, or you can actually give me a call, okay? And my phone number is 703-731-2680. That's what the number you want to get a hold to Keith, and you want to see me at a show of yours, give me a call.
All right. Well, I want to thank Keith Wilson, blues and jazz saxophonist, for joining me today. And this program is broadcast Sundays at 5:30 p.m. and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on Comcast Channel 69 and Verizon Channel 38 in Arlington, Virginia. Aging Matters is also on the radio. The program is broadcast every Tuesday at 2 p.m. and Friday at 2 p.m. on WERA Arlington 96.7 FM. Be sure to check out the Aging Matters website, agingmattersonline.com, for more information about all of our radio programs and TV episodes. So thank you for watching the program today, and please join me again for the next Aging Matters show. Until then, remember, age is just a number, not a label.